Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to this week's edition of Hardwood Heights. I'm your host, Evan Matthews, here with anchor
Brendan.
Connor.
To hit you guys with a hard one here. What do we think? Do we think LeBron's legacy is shaping up to be better than Michael Jordan's?
Absolutely. Just seeing what has happened in these past couple of years, switching teams side to side. Every year he competes, every year he gets more and more athletic, and his numbers just do not waver. I mean, it's been decades past, and it's the same numbers you see every year, the same Bron, and the same championship-winning Bron, that you can lead a team, and you can surround Bron and lead him to a championship every year.
I think it's definitely up for debate now. LeBron's definitely proved himself as a, top two in the league. However, he is two. He's not one. He's not the GOAT. The GOAT is Michael Jordan. I mean, I understand LeBron's longevity here, but consistency is the key in the NBA. And Michael Jordan only had one All-Star pretty much in his team's whole career, Scottie Pippen. And you know what? I think that's a good part right there. It just shows how Jordan really makes these teams. The team surrounds himself with Jordan.
What Bron can do on the court is completely different with MJ. MJ is one player all the time. With Bron, he can switch positions whenever he wants. He can become the point guard if he wants to. He can even play the center if he wants to.
Also, in terms of Michael Jordan, he's not spending $1 million a year on his body. It's a different time back then. I know, LeBron's definitely getting beat up out there, and, longevity's getting older, but I mean,
half that reason is MJ didn't want to spend it on himself. MJ was not going to fix his body. He was just going to gamble it away anyway.
I think you should want to understand that technology has definitely improved. The medical field is advanced. There's not all these Chiro labs out here that
I don't think MJ would use them.
At first, he was based off pure talent. Then when he kept getting beat up by the Pistons, what do you do? Right back in the lab, just pure iron, pumping iron with the boys. They got...
Speaking of the Pistons, do we think that Jordan had harder opponents than LeBron or less hard opponents than Bron?
I think it's a two-way street there. I mean, it's definitely tougher, talent-wise. It's just a different game of basketball. Now it's more about scoring. Back then, it's more about defense, grit, and grind. I mean, it was definitely harder to score in that era, but, also... You have more talent. There's more talent, better scoring around him now. So,
just overall, today's age, the talent is off the charts. The league knows they need an expansion because there's just too many good players compared to MJ's days. But the physicality in MJ's days compared to LeBron's today is no match. So when you talk about players, it's a whole different game in which he had to play. And I think that Bron overall played more talent, but I think MJ played some harder opponents that could really rough him up physically.
To bounce off that topic, do we think, would you both agree that LeBron is probably the greatest talent to ever touch a basketball, even if you don't believe he's greater than Michael Jordan?
I think he's definitely up there. I mean, he's definitely in the top two again. I could probably put him at one, but, I haven't seen enough film on old guys like, Wilt. I mean, come on, someone runs on the floor in 5 strides.
Some ridiculous videos of Wilt with his arm above the backboard that you just don't even know.
It's a little too much black and white for me. So, right now, I'd say the best basketball player I've seen in my lifetime is definitely LeBron James, definitely the most talented. I mean, stuff he's on the court is definitely, unmatched. I mean,
athletically, you don't top it. I mean, with LeBron playing out there, he flies every single game, and it's just hard to see anyone else play that well with a basketball in their hands.
And I think also to do with the talent part. Part of the thing that made Jordan so great is that he focused so much on the defensive end of the ball. It wasn't all offensive for him. He did a lot of different things. So I think that's what made him greater as a player. Totally.
Do you think there's anyone else in the new era of basketball from 2000 on that you would put up there with greatest talents to touch a basketball like LeBron? Maybe not as good as LeBron, but someone close?
Talent-wise, I mean, the way he's been improving his game every year, I think Giannis is definitely going to be in that category. From what he used to be, couldn't shoot threes. We've seen him develop his game on continually year in, year out. I think he's definitely going to be up there. He's a young player still, so I think he's going to be up there.
It's so hard to debate because you see players like Giannis with the basketball in their hands, and you just think it's unfair and completely stupid. But then you see Jokic with the basketball, and you think, well, how are these two guys playing the same sport sometimes? Let alone both winning MVPs. I mean, Jokic is a big dude, and he doesn't look the healthiest. If he's just walking around normally, he don't look like the most healthy guy there is. So it's so hard to debate on where talent's going to come from in these next couple of years, because especially when you see players like Steph Curry, who's a shorter guy, not much muscle to him, and didn't have to have muscle when he played his game correctly from the back of the three-point line. And it's kind of been interesting to see in these past couple of years, will people continue to resort to bully ball and players like Giannis, or will they kind of change their bodies up to be more like Steph and just focus on the three-point game?
I think we'd be fools not to mention Kevin Durant in this category, too. I mean, a 7-foot slash, there things he does in the court there, one of the best shooters, best scorers of all time. It's obvious, the impact he makes on his teams.
Slim Reaper's no
That's-
match.
Yeah, definitely.
To touch on the topic of, today's game and yesterday's game, do you think we'd see an inflation of numbers if we sent some of, today's role players back to maybe even the 60s or 70s to play, considering some of the talent back then may not be to what we see today?
I think the old days was more about efficiency. Guys want to look for the best shot, pass first, play defense. Definitely a tougher era back then. I mean, we had Elgin Baylor, who was serving in the military on the weekends and then dropping, 25 points during the week and being one of the greatest players. But, guys like, wingmen like C.J. McCollum, I mean, God, the way he scores the ball by himself, I think he'd definitely score a lot out there. But the way he'd fit in the NBA then, I don't know how long he'd be able to make in the league because you don't want players shooting the ball that much back then.
Right, you don't even have a three-point line. Some of the back in the days, and you call him that far back, and you put C.J. McCollum out there without three-point line, and he's going to get bully balled in a second. And it's not his fault. I mean, he's got a game that just doesn't fit the era. And I think that since we try to compare and we put those guys into the yesterday's age, it's just hard to see him really out there at a physicality standpoint. I mean, you put Giannis out there, and 100%, he's got to be one of the GOATs. I mean, Bill Russell won so many rings. Why couldn't Giannis back then? He probably could have done something to Will.
So to touch on that topic, do you think there's a certain, set of player that we consider all-time great from the 60s or 70s that you think was inflated and would not be able to compete today?
Absolutely, Bill Russell. I think that Bill Russell and Wilt both had some numbers that you can't even verify. I mean, you look at Wilt's 100-point game, that wasn't true. There's no way that was real. You can't drop 100 points back in the day, especially without any threes. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then you bring in Bill Russell and the amount of rings he won. I mean, wouldn't you get bored? I'm sure he was bored. If you didn't have Wilt out there playing against him, I think he would have been bored every single game. Poor guy, he was bullying everyone else out there. And it's so tough because if you put him in today's age, he wouldn't stand a chance.
All right, now we're going to get here with a tricky question. Let's get our all-time starting fives from Brendan and Connor. Connor, you want to hit us with yours first?
So much debate, every position. I mean, you got to pick one for each position. You got to think of how people play, but the two locks in there are obviously MJ and Bron. They have to be in every all-time starting five. So I think going from positions 1 to 5, I think at my point guard number 1, I think I'm going to go with a undersized Steph Curry. I think it'd be crazy to see Steph Curry out there. But also going to throw as a shooting guard, I'm going to keep it small, but at the time, he was fairly big. I'm going to go Magic Johnson as my 2. So that way I got a little 2-point guard action, and I think it's going to help my dime situation and really dishing it off. And I think at my number 3, I have to go MJ, and he's going to run a bit of a big position. He's got the guard kind of bigger people, but I know that Magic's a fairly big guy, and he can basically play the 3 as well. And then at my 4, I'm going to put Bron, and at my 5, I have to throw Shaquille O'Neal, just unbelievably dominant. A force to be reckoned with in the paint, someone who just bullied you to no end, and you go home that night, you're ice packing, you're in the ice bath, you are done so. It's going to be nice for a 7-game series to have to go right up against Shaq one more time. You're going to be toast.
Yeah, I see you got a little heart over height over there in your lineup. I like that, but considering we're on Hardwood Heights, my lineup is all about height. The bigger the better. That's what everyone says, right? And I'm going to go at point guard. I'm going to go Magic. I think my lineup is pretty interchangeable. A lot of guys can go in different places. I know you're an Indiana boy, so I think you might respect this pick. At number 2, I'm going to have Reggie Miller. You need a deadly shooter out there. The way my lineup's going to stack up, I need a slasher and I need a shooter and a killer like Reggie Miller. Got a bunch of dogs on my team. At 3, I'm going to take MJ. Put him at the 3. I think, we can play a lot of different things. 4, Bron. And then, those two guys, you can put them in different spots everywhere. Even you can put Magic at the 5. He played as a rookie. He played the center as a rookie after, with some injuries. And then at 5, speaking of injuries, I'm going to take, Kareem. Kareem at the 5. I want heart and height in this team. These guys go out there, they want to win every game. They don't want to lose a game. They're not. Besides Bron, none of them are taking nights off. So, all these guys, I'm taking these guys. I need some killers out there and some height and some tenacity.
All right, now let's switch it up and hit it with a little trivia. All right, Brendan and Connor, first question coming your way is, which player was drafted out of St. John's in 1999, is known for earning numerous technical fouls, and is an excellent defender at the forward position?
That would be Ron Artest.
Dang it.
That would be Ron Artest.
Oh,
All right,
wow.
Brendan, 1 point for Brendan Huerta. All right. Next question is, which player won 8 NBA championships with the Boston Celtics and was drafted in 1956?
Gotta be Bill Russell.
That would be wrong. Bill Russell won 11 championships.
Bob Cousy.
That would also be wrong.
Gosh. John Havlicek.
Would also be wrong.
I don't know. I'm in the wrong area here. I'm just gonna go with I'm gonna Kevin McHale.
All right, we're gonna shut down that one. No one got the answer. The answer would be Tom Heinsohn. All right, it's okay. All right, next question. Which member of the Michigan's Fab Five spent his first 2 seasons with Denver and eventually made his way to the Indiana Pacers?
Jalen Rose.
That would be Jalen Rose. That's a point for Connor. All right, 1 point for Brendan, 1 point for Connor. Which player joined the Timberwolves in the 1990s and was the first player in 20 years to get drafted straight from high school?
Kevin Garnett.
All right, we're going to give you both the point on that one. That was a close call. That was the easier one, so let's get a little harder there. It's 2-2, Connor and Brendan. Which country was Rick Fox born in?
South Africa.
That would be incorrect, Brendan.
Australia.
That would also be incorrect.
Canada.
That would be correct, Connor. All right, 3 points for Connor, 2 points for Brendan. All right, Brendan, you get a chance to tie it up here. We're going to give you what was the most famous nickname for Sam Perkins?
Big Smooth.
It would be Big Smooth.
Oh man.
Connor up to 4 points, Brendan down to 2. All right, we'll do a double points here to give you an opportunity to tie it up. All right, Brendan? We're going to give you which player almost quit basketball to become a garbage man but went on to win 3 NBA championships and MVPs?
I will go with Larry Bird.
That would be correct. Larry Bird. All right, all tied up. Last question to win it all. What city is the famous Dallas Maverick Dirk Nowitzki from?
Oh, come on. Frankfurt.
That would be incorrect, but the correct country.
Berlin.
That would also be incorrect. All right, we're going to move on to the next question for the win again. The answer would have been Würzburg, Germany. NBA players Boris Diaw, Nicholas Batum, and Dominique Wilkins were all born in which country?
France.
That would be France. All right, Brennan wins the trivia.
Oh,
Man.
like the Warriors. Clearly.